Welcome back to Wild, Wise and Curious, Embracing Our Journey, where we're excited to continue the conversation around all things peri and beyond. We'll continue to explore all our stories, challenges and importantly the wisdom we learn along the way. As usual, we'd love to chat with women just like you who might like to share your own perimeno or post-menopause stories with us. We can't wait to chat with you. Hello and welcome to Wild, Wise and Curious. On today's episode, we're going to be chatting to Kelly. Welcome to Wild, Wise and Curious, Kelly.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, Kelly.
Hello.
Thank you for coming and joining us today.
Of course.
So the first question we ask is, how did you come to realise that you were in perimenopause?
Stop it. It's so tough because my experience of it is very unclear.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll give you a bit of background. So I've been diagnosed with something called PMDD.
Okay.
Which is, I was going to say perimenopause. It's not. It's premenstrual dysphoria disorder.
Okay.
Which is where like every month before your period you have times of anxiety and upset and anxiousness and all that kind of stuff. So I've had that like for a really long time. But when I was like getting used to the condition and kind of learning about it, I was like, there's brain fog and there's anxiety and there's irregular periods and there's all of this stuff.
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So it's like, I've had conversations about these with many women. Let me just have a closer look. And then when I started to link up PMDD, well, just link up the symptoms I was going through, I was like, this feels very strong towards perimenopause.
Okay.
So even though my head is there within that kind of time where I'm at perimenopause and really need to start considering that and learning about that and educating myself more, I'm also dealing with this PMDD, which has the similar symptoms. So I feel like I'm in this flux of the two.
Wow.
Which is joyous. Joyous, aren't you jealous?
Honestly?
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
It makes total sense.
So how long have you been living with those symptoms then? For quite some time?
So I first recognised it in 2017.
Okay.
But I think it probably harks way back. But I only got a diagnosis in the pandemic. So it takes a real long time to get a diagnosis for that as well.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm in this like flux of like, I'm trying to manage all my PMDD symptoms, but then I'll start to have hot flushes at night and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, is that PMDD? Is it perimenopause? Is it a bit of both? So I'm kind of like navigating this whole change.
Wow.
And there's part of me that's like really like joyous because obviously being a woman and having changes in your body and knowing about them before they happen or understanding what's going on, you feel that sense of empowerment.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. Crikey. And I wonder, so what was your journey like with the GP during this time? Because I would imagine if the symptoms are very similar, it would just be, you're too young for that, maybe it's this.
Oh my God, this line,
Yeah.
So with PMDD, there's like this huge stigma around it that because doctors aren't educated on it, it's very much, he's got really bad PMS. Like, it's just bad PMS. So if you look into kind of people that suffer with it, there's so much around trying to like beg doctors for a diagnosis and just being a bit gaslit by their doctors and stuff. And I kind of knew that was going to happen. I went to the doctor a couple of times and I was like, what is going on? Like just all of these symptoms, I don't know what to do. And like, it's just bad PMS, you're too young for anything else. And then I was like, right, okay. So I started to educate myself a bit more and I was like, what they need is a symptom tracker. So I started tracking it for like months and months and months. Which, when you first do that as a woman, I felt incredibly frustrated that I was having to do this.
Yeah.
Like, not only to prove to the GP what I was experiencing, but also just like, for God's sake, like, it's an extra bit of admin to like track your cycles.
Yeah.
But also, like, then you start to really have it in your face of everything that you're going through.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God. But then when I went to a doctor, that I don't know what happened on the day, that it just hit different, and she just completely heard me and was like, yep, you've got this condition, it's PMDD. and she says, what do you need? And I said, I don't need anything. I just need a diagnosis just to be like, feel like heard.
Yeah.
So then that was a couple of years ago, and I've been coming to terms with that, and that's been great. But then the symptoms started getting a bit stronger, and I was like, oh, is that just because psychologically I've accepted that I've got this condition, or am I now looking down the barrel of menopause and we're here already? Like, so I think it's, a cluster of all of this. Yeah. Which brings like dark moments, because it's like, oh great, so I've only just figured out this condition that I've got like in my mid-30s, but now we're talking about perimenopause. I've had conversations with doctors about menopause as well, so it's like, okay, that's it then. Do you know what I mean?
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's like looking down the barrel of like, oh God, I should have pied more in my 20s and I had the energy and I could like think straight. But no, I'm joking. Like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So how does the perimenopause affect PMDD?
So very similar symptoms. The one that I always focus on, so yeah, similar symptoms, so anxiety, dryness, all of that kind of stuff. But the one that I always come back to is brain fog.
Okay.
Like, so for 2 weeks of the month with my PMDD, my brain is just like, bye-bye, like, no, you got this by yourself. And I always kind of knew that, but in the recent years, especially the last year, the brain fog's just out of control. Like, I'm just like, I don't even know what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I've just written down. Obviously, the traditional going into rooms, not knowing why you're there. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's probably the most prevalent one. But in the past few months, also the sweats, they're just coming, and I'm like, okay, let's figure this out.
So does the brain fog still stay for the 2 weeks of the month, or is it like longer now? Or?
It can vary. This is what I think is the most stressful thing for me, is that there's no like, say I'm PMDD or I'm in perimenopause or I'm in both. It's like there's no solid for 14 days you will feel like this. It's either like 5 or like 2 or like 10.
That'd make it easier though, right? if we said, right, 5 days you're on this, 5 days you're on that. So at least you know then you've got the other days to like get your arse in gear and do everything that takes energy and brain power.
But you just can't pin it down, and it's just great. Yeah.
So what kind of, so before, when you had your initial diagnosis then, what were you doing then to help manage your PMDD symptoms in that time?
Yeah. Crying a lot. No, I don't know.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
You were just living with it and trying to get through each day.
Yeah. And massive shout out to my partner. Like, when we first got together, I hadn't been diagnosed, but I was like, I'm pretty convinced that I've got this condition. And if you're going to be with me, you're going to see cyclical nature, and you're going to see different times of the month, and you're going to see me act differently. Are you okay with that? And he was like, buy him from day one, because he's such a like, he just wants to take care of me. And I was like, so now like he understands. I've never seen a guy that understands a women's cycle the way that he does. Which is hilarious, because I'm like, it's all about to change and getting even worse. We're going to go off the rails again. So on. Do you even know what's coming? But yeah, so he's like, he really gets it. And we were talking the other day. He like names each week. So I don't have like, I have a kind of regular cycle, but not regular enough to call it. I would call it regular because of the changes that my body are going through. But menstrual week, he calls it like, I'm always like, oh, stay with me. The follicular week, I'm like, come here to me. On the luteal week, where I'm like just horrible, I'm like, stay away but stay close.
I love the fact that you've got that.
And then like when it's really due on, he's like, you're like, get away from me.
So plan my trip.
So he knows, like,
but even that's tricky now because they're all over the shop.
Yes.
Yeah. God.
Because even there's times when he's like, no, you're supposed to be like, stay with me this week. And I'm like, get away. So he's getting confused, I'm getting confused, and it's like, oh, it's all part of life, isn't it?
Oh,
learning journey.
Okay.
But I think if I didn't have a partner like that, so when I said like that, I realised I had it around about 2017. I probably had it long before that, and I was with another partner for 10 years, and it probably, I don't think I even considered that I had that. So when you think back to arguments and you think back to times, you go, "Ooh,
patterns."
yeah, maybe I was definitely PMDD and around then." And then so, and I don't know if it's like a psychological thing, but you know, when you have a condition, and the more you get to learn about it, sometimes the worse it gets, because you're like, "Oh yeah, I understand why that's happening now." So I'm not avoiding it.
Yeah,
but it's like, "Oh, okay." That's the tough one.
Yeah, sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It really is with a lot of
It
stuff.
can be,
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But as human beings, we're really curious to find out everything about everything that's anything to do with us.
Yeah.
So much. Because then I think the one gratitude I have for it is that for years I would be avoidant of symptoms and just ignore them, pretend they weren't happening or whatever. But now that I'm conscious that I'm definitely got PMDD, think I've got perimenopause, it's like this level of self-compassion that I've never had before has come in. So there are days where I'm just on the sofa chilling. There are days when I'm just like, I don't need to be away from people. Whereas before I would have just pushed through and made it worse.
Yes.
So you're recognising it more, that when you need to take that time, you're taking that time for you.
100%.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got a partner who will make sure you take that time for you too.
Yeah.
But you need it. You need at these times. It just makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
To have someone who actually gives
it.
a shit and gets it. You know, it does make it easier.
Yeah.
So how do you go about it? Because I know you're a very busy lady.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about fitting all of those things in? Do you plan? Excuse me. Do you plan the like? I mean, am I all right to mention some of the things you do?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So how do you fit it, like, say, playing in the band?
Yeah.
If you're feeling knackered and want a sofa day, but you've got a gig, how does that happen? I guess it just happens.
Yeah. So I drum in a band. So I've drummed in a band for a couple of years, and that came from the Inglamorous project, which I'll probably mention in a second. But there's days where you just have to, like, pull it out and just get out there and just do it, and then crash at the end. If you can focus on, rather than focus on, I don't want to do this, if I focus on the crash afterwards, I can kind of push it through. But obviously the anxiety is always there, and the bad thoughts are always there. So there will be days when I will come off a gig and be like, I am the best drummer in the entire world. Oh my God, this world is lucky to have me. And then I'll come off other gigs and be like, I don't know how to drum. And it's such a fluctuation of like your anxiety just manifesting like at different periods. Because I would have done exactly the same set, I would have drummed exactly the same, but then I'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah. But I think to link into the kind of the perimenopause and the menopause kind of side of that is that Inglamorous was set up to get women into being musicians. So that's how I got part of it. And it's, as well as us all going into these bands, because we're talking like maybe 50 women over a couple of years, we've got this community now. So I've probably learned more about perimenopause and menopause through that than I ever have done. I mean, there's a great band, Boilers. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yes,
so they do songs about like HRT. They do songs about supplements. Like, it's incredible. And it's just, even hearing songs about that, you go, oh yeah, I've even learnt something whilst I'm on stage. But it brought this sense of community where I think I'm probably one of the younger ones, so I'm like turning 37, but the age range is huge, and everyone's got something to kind of give, and some knowledge and some wisdom to kind of share. So I never saw me being in a band, but I never saw the community that it would bring with it. And through that, honest conversation about when someone's feeling a bit rubbish before they go on stage, and when someone's not feeling it, and being able to kind of talk about that. I'm so grateful for that as well.
Yeah, it looks a fantastic community. I had the pleasure of meeting somebody over at Stay Free at the studios when I was going in helping someone do some film recording.
I know.
and they told me all about the unglamorous bands and the projects and about the lady who'd created it.
Yeah, Ruth. Yeah,
and it just sounds fantastic. I think they showed me the double album that had been created with all these different women, and they were saying as well that it was not just women who knew how to play. It was women who wanted to play and wanted to learn and wanted to get involved and wanted the community and the support.
Yeah.
It sounds bloody amazing.
It's really good.
And I keep going, ooh. And then I'm like, Shell, you're drowning already. But it is definitely on my radar.
Yeah.
It just looks
God,
fantastic.
Yeah.
And like knowing a couple of different people who are in it who are also fantastic. It's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But it brings like this creative aspect as well, where if I am having a bad day, if I put some words on paper, then it might turn into a song, and then you kind of having that journaling aspect of trying to get your frustrations about being a woman or whatever you're going through out onto paper. So there's that whole level that it brought as well, which I just didn't expect. Because hilariously, like I joined in the January, and it was a project which was like 66 days to your debut. So you form a band and you play on International Women's Day. So I formed a band with these two amazing women, and then we played, and I was like, okay, nice to meet you. And it was a great experience, wasn't it? Oh, well done. And then the next day it was like, when's our next rehearsal? I was like, oh!
So we're really doing
I'm in a band! And thank God they did. Like, thank God we carried it on, because it's been revolutionary, I think, with my life, particularly because when there is anger, what's easier than... You say, like, some days I don't want to get on that stage. Some days I do. Like, I'm like, give me them sticks.
Channeling.
Like, Cal's playing a different note, but just leave her to it.
Was it something that you did in your younger years?
No.
So you came to it completely...
Yeah.
And you just thought, I'd like to have a go with drums?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
they,
I love that.
They let you play everything, so bass, guitar, and I was like, maybe bass, but guitar, absolutely not, just not my thing. And then I got on the drums, and the person that was helping with the drums was like, yeah, you've got a natural rhythm for this, are you enjoying it? And I was like, I think so, yeah. But then, because I do dance as well, because it's a lot of it's in eights, I felt like I was kind of just relating the two almost. But yeah, actually I did have a drum lesson years and years ago, and I paid like 25 quid for an hour with the drum teacher, with this guy, nothing against him, but I barely hit the drums, and I was just like, okay. And then when I went on the drums, and then Ruth, who founded the project, on the second week was like, she gave me the sticks, and I went, oh, what do I do? She went, just smash them. And I went, oh, fantastic. All right.
Amazing.
And then I remember when we had to, before we did the gig, we had to do like a mini kind of rehearsal with her, just to check that we were like stage ready or whatever. And then I did my bit, and she was like, yeah, I loved everything you did. And she went, oh, you know that cymbal there? She was like, you don't usually play it like that in a band. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She was like, no, carry on. And I was just like, what? Excellent. She was like, do whatever you want, like just feel it. And she gave me the permission, even though you don't need it, but the permission to just go mad and be a female musician that just wanted to smash some stuff around. So
how wonderful that you're bringing something different to it. Because you hadn't been brought up in that kind of learning an instrument and doing it that way. You were just doing it instinctively, and she really liked that.
She loved it. So she was amazing. Fabulous. Big love.
Yeah, it looks like an absolutely incredible project. I keep seeing the dates. I tried to book on, funnily enough, when you were last at the Donkey.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and there's a few bands on. But I went to book and all the tickets are gone.
Oh really?
So it was a sellout thing. So what's the name of the band, Kelly? Anyway, just in case anybody on the podcast wants to come along and have a listen. Come on.
Thank you so much.
It's okay. You're welcome.
Pretty Dirty Rats.
Pretty Dirty Rats.
So we're a three-piece. So we have Joe, who sings and plays guitar, and we have Claire, who's on bass, and then I play some drums.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we'll put a link to it in the podcast notes, won't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, women, we've got to empower each other.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
for sure.
We've got to be there.
Yeah.
So what about other things that you do to, like making films and things like that?
I haven't done some for a while just because I've been so busy, but I kind of fell into that as well. I think so. I moved to Leicester for uni, and then I moved back to Coventry, where I'm from, and then I moved back permanently in 2014. And I was just looking for stuff to do, and then I ended up seeing this post about like needing some extras and sort of like a local indie film. And I was like, oh, I'll go down. I was just supposed to be at the back, like with a coffee cup, just standing there. And then by the end of the 2-day shoot, I was singing Auld Lang Syne on camera. And I can't sing. There's a reason why I drum. I was just like, how did this happen? But it really, like, I spent a lot of time kind of just observing the producer on the set and kind of seeing, because I'm kind of an event manager by trade, I was like, they're kind of using the same skills that I do for events. And then I started to look at producing and I was like, I feel kind of connected to this. And then ended up working on a couple of films with a group called GM Finney Productions, and that was more as an actress, but then they were kind of looking for a producer, and it all just kind of merged together into one. And so we had like lighting, sound, all the kind of departments, and they were all kind of guys, and I was the only female within that. And since then, it's obviously grown bigger, and there's more females involved. But I've never met a group of guys that have been more supportive of women and just made me feel so included and so equal during that whole process. And it was just, so I've worked with them for a really long time now. We've kind of simmered down a little bit now to have a little bit of a break, and we were doing a feature film which was supposed to take like a year, but obviously it hit the pandemic, so it took about 3 or 4 years. But we got through it. So I think everyone's just having a bit of a little bit of a break now, but there's still stuff I get asked to kind of help with and stuff, just because of the reputation that I have in Leicester and with local filmmakers. But I always find it a really empowering group, particularly the women in it as well. There's loads of different female producers that are there, and they're amazing at their jobs and just will recommend each other all the time if they can't do a job. So really good.
So how did you find with the PMDD and the perimenopause? Probably the perimenopause would more relate to sort of later stuff. But how did you find that with, with all the different areas, like, well, for example, with the films or with work and those sorts of things, on those days where you kind of go, oh my God, I don't even really want to function today. I wish I was a cat.
I speak about language. So I read this. So at one of my organisations, I was co-chair of the Women's Forum for like 5 years.
Wow, okay.
Which I really, really enjoyed, and again, kind of fell into it. Just kind of
have a habit of this.
Just handed the baton. And I had an amazing co-chair as well, and it was very much kind of just supporting women in the workplace and ensuring they were doing okay. And this was like years and years ago, so I was a lot younger then. So then people would speak about menopause, and I started to get educated on it. And even then, perimenopause wasn't really spoken about.
Word, wasn't it?
No,
I don't remember it being a word 5 or 6 years ago when it started with me.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, menopause, I'll educate myself, like try and support the members. And they would talk about kind of feeling just like they could take time off for menopause because it was taboo and all of this kind of stuff. So I was really like trying to support them all through that. And the workplace was great. Like I think there's like kind of menopause policies and menstrual leave policies and stuff all being instigated at this point, which I was all for. But then one of the things that I kind of looked up was this. There was like an article in Forbes, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was something about how to use your cycle for productivity, and it literally blew my mind, because it was like going through the stages of your cycle, even if you're on a irregular cycle, you could still kind of relate to it. And it was on about like when we feel like superstar, like I said, the best drummer in the world, like when we feel like we're not feeling it. And it was that really switched my mind on switched my focus on the PMDD, because when I really looked at my calendar, I was like, I kind of know when PMDD might hit or where I'm going to feel a bit off. And in those weeks was like massive meetings, massive client presentations, all the kind of stuff where if I just did them on a different week, it would be an absolutely different outcome. Wow. And then I started to kind of open my mind a bit to this. And I remember with the Women's Forum, we did like an information session on this article, and just opened up to questions, and it was just such a good dialogue. So I've tried to kind of incorporate that, particularly if I'm having a bit of a bad time, whether it's PMDD or perimenopause, whatever, noticing that and cancelling stuff if I can cancel it. Whereas before, again, I would have just pushed through. Yeah. But now I'm like, well, no, because I'm not going to be as productive as I want to be. I'm not going to give my best self. So having that kind of empowerment has really kind of shaped stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, there's like times where you can't shift, and you just have to white knuckle it through. Like, I think me and my partner Ollie were sitting down the end of last year, looking through the months and seeing when the PMDD was going to hit, and it was like, oh, I'm in Barcelona then, and I've got a massive exam then, and I've got, oh, we're in New York then. And I was like, can't change any of that. So literally like white knuckling it through, but prepping, like preparing yourself that this is going to be a tough ride, but if we can get there, we can get there. Like, and then a couple of months ago, I remember I completely misread my calendar, and I was in London for 2 days, which was amazing. I had a really nice time. I was doing all different projects and that, but it was PMDD time. So when I would go back to the hotel in the evening, I would just be like a shadow. I'd be like, I want to cuddle, I want people, I need something. I wouldn't have done this if I'd realised it was going to hit those dates. So yeah,
learning,
totally
constantly
learning all the time.
like,
and I haven't got it right, and I don't think I ever will. You just kind of have to just keep trying to hit it where you can.
It's almost like softening the before and the after, isn't it? So I know I've got this really big thing that I've got to do, and I've got to push through it, but actually for those few days beforehand, I'm going to go to bed early, I'm going to have the baths, I'm going to do all those kind of things to be kind to myself, just to give me enough energy to power through, and then do the same at the end. It's almost like giving yourself a little bit of a sandwich, isn't it?
Because you do the cyclical stuff.
I started doing that as well. Only a few months ago. A few months ago we talked about it. A friend of mine made a comment about us meeting, in certain parts of our cycle. And at the time I thought, what? And then I kind of thought, actually, that makes a lot of sense. So I started doing the same.
Oh, right, yeah.
So when I know that I'm going to be having a rubbish week, I dial everything in. I don't do anything, and I just literally go to bed. Everybody knows I'll go to bed at 8 o'clock, watch TV, have a hot chocolate, that kind of thing.
I love that,
and it's made life a lot easier. Like you, I've still not got it right. I still, I'm still having to manage through it, but I think I'm in a lot better place than I was before I started doing that, because we are cyclical, aren't we? We need to live within that, and unfortunately the wider world isn't. So we need to be mindful and responsible for our own kind of cycles in that way.
I remember doing when we did this we were looking at this Forbes article, and we were saying we are cyclical, and we did this whole dialogue, and we opened it, we had this massive conversation about it, and I remember my last slide was just like, oh yeah, and just to remind everyone, we're circadian as well. So we have these hours that we have. So not only do we have these monthly cycles that we have to deal with, we have these daily cycles that we have to deal with as well. And it's like, oh my God, give me strength.
It's a wonder we get up in the morning.
I know,
isn't it? It really is.
And I read somewhere that we're the only mammals that don't hibernate for X amount of time. And I'm like,
relate to hibernation so much.
Imagine if we had 3 months over the winter where we could just take it easy, not have to show up at work. I mean, okay, it's not going to happen right now. Hopefully in the future. But imagine if we had that time where we could actually replenish ourselves properly. Because nobody, I don't know many people that wake up feeling totally refreshed from having a full night's sleep.
No.
And the cyclical stuff that both of you guys are talking about, I'm really jealous, and I want to be able to do it. But like I've said to Lou and said on the podcast before, I've not had a period now since November. But this happened to me last year. I had 6 months with no period, and then they started again. Gosh. And then now I've been, since November, 6 months again. But I don't know if one's going to come. So I'm like, when would I know where I was in my cycle so that I can start to journal? Are you going to say journal?
I am.
I can tell by your face. Then I will know how I'm. So well. Then I will know where I'm at because of how I feel. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't even have to say anything there.
I just read it.
Journal. Journal.
Okay.
Triggered.
So So the lack of period doesn't actually matter if you journal your symptoms and how you feel. Because I still have those days where I'm like, fuck off, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to be on my own. Oh my God, I've just tidied that room, and you've put your keys and your phone and your this and your that. Oh my God, you've and equally have those days where I'm like, oh my God, where is everyone? I just want to tell everyone I love them.
But then you worry that you appear inconsistent to them. So it's like, I don't want them to feel like, I don't know, the fear and the shame of seeing me on a bad day when it's like, that's not who I am on my best days. And it's like, obviously great friends don't care and all of that kind of stuff.
That's it.
But maybe in like a workplace or whatever, if you have enough day and someone someone gets too close, back up. It's tough. And there's all this stuff like the anxiety's there, the fear, the shame's there, but then on some weeks it's not there, and then on some weeks it's back, and it's like, and like you say, if you're going 6 months out, it's so jarring because you're just like trying to control something and you just can't control.
No, and then you sometimes have those feelings like pre your period where you start to feel a bit more on edge than you normally would, a bit more nervous of things than you normally would, or a bit more arsey than you normally would. And then I'm like, okay, are you going to come? Are you going to come? 2-3 days later, no, you're not going to come, are you? Okay, now I'm back to feeling all right, but there was no period that normally broke the cycle, and so it's bizarre. And I'm 49 for the next couple of months. Couple of months,
Oh, okay, you.
So it's not that I'm further down. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's on the way to menopause or whether I'll get another period.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows any of it?
Because then when I figured out PMDD, I was like, right, okay, this is going to happen emotionally every month. Like, I kind of understand that. But then my periods started getting kind of weird. Like some months they'd be like really heavy for like 5 days, and then some months they'd be like light for 2 days and then really heavy, and I was like, what are you doing in there? What do you want? Tell me and I will provide. But I was like, okay, now the periods are changing and I need to get my head around that. So it's like, this constant looking down the barrel of change, and I hate change. So I'm like, right, this is it now. On we go. But
there's no consistency. One month can be very different to the next. And I think a lot of it can be also situational. So say you have had a really stressful time for whatever reason, outside of your control, that will have an effect on it too.
Yeah, of course.
And so, it's useful to possibly journal that as well. What are the other influences? Have you been eating well? Have you been managing sleep? Have you been drinking plenty of water? Have you been going out and getting some fresh air? It's almost like getting a snapshot of where you are in that particular day, and then feeling, did that affect it a few days down the line? What am I doing? That's what I feel like. I'm a study of one. I feel like I am literally trying to work out, all the things that are contributing to, okay, I'm feeling okay today, so what have I been doing that has contributed to that?
I don't think I'd ever do that. I'm always focusing on the rubbish days.
Okay.
So if I start looking at the good days, and you're like, why is it good?
So what have I been doing that has been working? I think because as well we've been trying lots of different things as well, haven't we? Extra vitamins and whatever, but how am I going to know if any of that's working if I'm not paying attention to that?
That makes so much sense, Lou. You make so much sense.
I
bought a journal about 3 months ago. It is out of the wrapper. It's out of the wrapper. I'm going to start doing it.
Well, I'm not consistent with it, don't get me wrong. But I think I've kind of decided now, when I have my morning coffee, that's when I'm going to start doing it. Because I can easily doom scroll. And before I know it, half an hour's gone. Whereas actually I could really use that well, because I'm really good in the mornings. You might be better off in the evenings. We're a bit opposite in that way, aren't we?
I think I'm with you, Michelle.
I'm definitely much better in the morning. I'm quiet, I've got my coffee and I can sit and do
decorate
something.
at midnight.
I've been asleep for 5 hours.
That makes so much sense.
That would be, I'm going to try that.
Your hair is incredible. I know we're on a podcast. I haven't told you yet. Lou's hair is incredible.
It is, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
It's stunning. It's such a stunning colour.
Thank you. I have. I've finally come to terms with
it.
It's just been one of those things where, for a long time, it's like, should I dye it? Should I not? And am I getting okay with it now? And there'll be moments where I'm thinking, actually, it's less now. I think about it less now. Than I ever did. But because it is going very white on the roots now. But
it is gorgeous. You've inspired me. I didn't have mine colour, because I normally have a bit of a colour through my roots. I've not had many like silvers or greys or whites, but I have noticed today when I've scraped it up, I'm like, oh, they're creeping in, and so I might leave mine. I might leave mine.
Yeah,
let's just see what
I've got
happens.
loads. I love them. I want them.
I think I didn't really like the in between stage. I expected, so I shaved mine off during COVID, and I expected it to grow back all white and it didn't. And so then I was a little bit disappointed with this salt and pepper kind of thing, because I just wanted it to be all white. I didn't want the interim. I wanted it to be either one or the other. So now I've kind of made peace with this now, and I just accept it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I love it. That's how I want my hair to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I've got a nice little white streak that just goes down here. I'm embracing the crone.
Yeah.
That's
Mine started coming through really early. I'd say early 20s I started getting some silvers, yeah. Which is interesting because I think my mum said she went grey quite early as well. Which is interesting with the menopause thing, because when I mentioned to my mum, I think I'm perimenopausal, she again was like, that's not a thing, like you just go straight to menopause. And I was like, no, recent years, it's here, like it's here and it's here to stay. And I'm so grateful for it, because that must be quite jarring for people that don't even know about perimenopause. If you are experiencing, like obviously I've got a slight heads up because the symptoms are similar to PMDD, but if you don't know about it, you could think there was something seriously wrong.
Well, yeah.
And lots do. Lots of people do.
And I did. I did.
Yeah, did you?
Yes, I spoke about it on the podcast. I had really extreme anxiety.
Yeah.
Mental panic attacks, like waking up in the middle of the night, like, and like I couldn't. Then that would trigger anxiety. I was getting about 2 hours sleep a night, and the anxiety was so bad that my husband had to have like 2 weeks compassionate leave off with me. I hated him leaving. I'd cry on the doorstep. Really? It was during COVID, so it was. So I was on furlough from work, so work didn't see that. But it was full on. It was really hard, and I thought I was having a mental breakdown.
Did you?
Yeah, it was horrific. And then when I went back to work, they got me in. Literally, I'd do 5 hours a week initially to go back, because I was so worried and anxious and scared. It was awful. I was scared to drive the car.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember at its worst, I was scared to go into the garden. It was just this crazy ride of like crazy thoughts of being overly worried about the most ridiculous things that would never normally do it.
Yeah.
And it took me about a year to realise that it might be sort of hormone related. I had like shed loads of hypnotherapy, which helped more after that, because it cleared the path of anything that had bothered me before. But then I did go on HRT.
Did you?
Yeah. And the estrogen and progesterone, I was on that for about 5-6 months. Didn't really touch the sides, but the testosterone, I had that, and within about 3 months, it had got rid of most of it.
Really?
Testosterone is really worth looking into. Okay. Because it's one of our hormones. So we often get thrown the progesterone and the estrogen, but testosterone is the icing on the cake, especially with hormonal stuffs, especially when it's mental health stuffs. So
that's so interesting. Thanks for sharing, because it all helps with like just this knowledge of like what people are going through. It's so helpful.
It's what has made us do the podcast, because I was like, man, if I'm going to go through this and come out the other side. For a long time, I would have still been a bit triggered by what had happened, because I was just like, I'm really frightened that this is going to come back. Or, and then after a while, when I felt a lot more comfortable with it, I just thought, if I live a relatively normal life, I've got great levels of support, I've got great friends, great family, a lovely home, a nice job, blah, blah, blah. All those kind of societal ticks are ticked.
Yeah.
And no sort of like previous experience really. I've had the odd bout of anxiety, but nothing that took me to those depths. And I thought to myself, if that can happen to me, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
And so
it's quite
I was
sharp as well.
Really sharp. Yeah. Really sharp. I felt like I'd been hit in the face with a steam train. No, I think I'd have preferred to have been hit in the face, because then I could have been in hospital and recovered. Well, maybe I wouldn't have recovered. However, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really, 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 really horrible.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. One, I didn't know perimenopause was a word. But two, I didn't know that those were symptoms. I thought it was just hot flushes and maybe getting a bit grumpy.
I think the anxiety one is the worst for me, because you're right.
God, yeah.
It's these irrational thoughts.
Yeah.
Like I was in the shower yesterday being like, oh my God, because I'm not near my phone, I'm going to have a phone call that someone I love has died and I'm not near the phone.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then I'll tell my partner, he's like, shut up, that's
totally irrational,
that's
isn't
irrational.
it?
And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. And then I'll like have this thought that someone has said something about me and it's untrue and everyone's going to hate me and all that. Just hugely irrational things which you wouldn't think on another day.
No.
Like, it's just crazy.
It is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember one of the things I had was I'd open the front door, and it was while COVID was on, and that did make it worse, I think, but I don't know because I've not experienced it before. So, like, as we say on the podcast all the time, everything in this time is so complex because you have no fucking idea which
what's
bit
right,
plays
what's
into
wrong,
what.
Yeah,
and so I opened the front door, and there was an older gentleman on the other side of the road, like 20 metres away, and I, who hadn't been out of the house because of the perimenopausal stuff, and because, you know, we were supposed to be staying in and what have you, I was scared that he was going to get COVID from me.
wow.
Even though there was no chance on this planet I would have had COVID because I hadn't been anywhere.
Yeah. But your brain was like, this is it. Yeah.
But you're so convinced of it, aren't you?
Yeah.
And also I remember driving when I was sort of started to get in the car again because we were back out again. If I went over a pothole, I'd have to turn around and come back and check I'd not run a dog or a cat or something over.
Wow.
It was insane. And yeah, for that reason, like, we got chatting and we were just like, we need to know about this stuff, because at least then we can go, okay, there's ways around it, and you can bring yourself back into the room and be back on the planet.
I know, like, that's really traumatic stuff, but honestly, hearing you guys share it, like, I've been having a time with anxiety recently, so it just makes me feel so seen and so heard, like, and you don't even, you probably won't even realise how much you're helping me right now, but honestly, like, I'll go away from this being like, yes, you get it, like,
we
you
get
understand.
it.
And, like, nothing against, like men or partners or whatever, but sometimes you have to speak to a woman about it, because you have to just be like, you know what I mean?
And actually someone has experienced it.
Yeah.
I think the experiential stuff, it is so much, I'm not, academic and all the rest of it, great, I mean, it's wonderful, but I will always say now, if I go and speak to somebody about a mental health crisis or anxiety, I want to speak to someone who's experienced it, because for me that makes me feel that they can truly sort of see and hear me, because they get it at a different level than anybody, than anybody who's not experienced it. So it's an experience, right, Cal?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, with like community. So I'm in a couple of PMDD WhatsApp groups, and oh my God, it's pinging every second. Like, but one of the interesting things about it is that they're global groups.
Yeah.
So this is happening like all over the world, and they're just support groups where if someone's having an off day, they will just message and say, because they feel like they can't speak to anyone else who doesn't get it. They'll just say, I'm feeling like this, and we all go, yeah, that sounds about right. And then on our good days, we can support them, and then on our bad days, they support us.
Yeah, perfect.
But there's stuff like where people are going through the similar thing with me, where they're like, I'm not sure if this perimenopause or whatever, or I haven't had a period for like 38 days, and I'm freaking out. And then it's constant dialogue of very individual differences. So as women, we want to go through a menstrual cycle or whatever, but our experience of it is so individual.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's just, two women are going to have the same kind of periods or the same length or the same whatever, and that's just mind-blowing to me.
It is,
because it's
totally
like, that's a lot. Because and this education thing, because I only found out probably in the last couple of months that, and I hope this is right, fact check me, that if your period is delayed, say on a normal cycle, it's because your ovulation was delayed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was like, thinking about teenage Kelly that was like, I didn't want to get pregnant. I'm like, I would have been so stressed around ovulation that I would have postponed it.
Okay, yeah.
So then when my period didn't come, I was like, oh God, it was never going to come on that day anyway, because I'd already pushed it back from being stressed around ovulation, which is, like, who tells you that? Like,
it kind of makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because, of course, if you're in sort of fight or flight, I'm trying to think how my periods were through that sort of 9-12 months of being in a real, mess.
Yeah.
And they weren't regular.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
hang on, no, I think they were regular, but they were not my normal periods. But I was just totally convinced it was something. It was not hormones because I didn't know anything about mental health side of things with perimenopause.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
It's so
but you can
mad.
so honestly see why stress would affect your cycle.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about it. We're not
We
taught
don't.
about it at school.
No.
And actually, these are things that we should have conversations about at school. I know,
so
but
much.
I know as teenagers we're like, menopause, perimenopause, oh my God, you're going to be well old when that happens.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you kids, it soon comes.
They're too bothered about the pregnancy and all that kind of stuff before
exactly.
they even think about that, aren't they?
They're like, don't worry about pregnancy, menopause. Now you need to educate yourself on that.
And again, but the menopause thing of like, my understanding of menopause was that you would just, your
Stop
periods
having
would
it.
just
Yeah.
stop, and
Yeah.
the next day you would not have a period
Yes.
anymore.
Yeah. Sounds really simple.
If only that was what it was.
It like terms and conditions, tiny writing. Hot flushes, anxiety.
And this
For
may continue
75
for 10
pages
years
later.
beforehand.
Oh, I didn't read the terms and conditions. Oh no.
But I think we talk about it a lot, and you've spoken about it quite a bit there. It's like the community.
Yeah.
That massively makes a massive difference. I mean, when I first realised, pretty much like when you were with the PMDD, you kind of like go, right, okay, the brain goes, right, let's find out as much as we can.
Yes.
So I went on to some of the Facebook perimenopause groups,
Right,
and holy cow, so many women are presenting with anxiety and intrusive thoughts, irrational thoughts, panic attacks and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh God, it's not just me. Oh my God, it's not just me. And then all of a sudden you feel like, it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's happening to other people. So it must be this thing.
Yeah.
It's not just me.
You can't really explain that moment when you're like, it's not just me, is it? It's
No.
such a...
It's a relief,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Even though in that moment you still feel shit, you're still having those
Yeah.
panic attacks or the anxiety, but knowing that someone else is talking about it,
Yeah.
and we talk about it, it's so important to have other women in the room with you,
it's huge.
with the circles and different things that we do. It's just...
Because I completely respect from doing the co-chair in the Women's Forum, but also other situations, I'm more than happy to sit here and talk about everything, but I understand that there are women that don't.
Absolutely.
And it's like, that's so hard for them to kind of speak about what they're going through. And if they don't find the support, if they don't find the community, it's a very isolating, scary place.
It really
So,
is. 'Cause
yeah.
You internalise it all,
Yes.
don't you? And
Yeah.
you feel, and that whole thing about feeling like it's just you, and then you kind of, I did go off on, oh God, what's that pain of? Oh, I got this, and what's that? And I'm feeling this now. And you go off on a different tangent, and you start making. Well, I started making up stories of what was happening, and
Did you?
yeah, like, oh gosh, I've got a pain in here now. Have I got, who knows
it.
what I've got, and
Yeah.
and I actually, in the beginning, I did think that I was, possibly having some sort of dementia.
Really?
I thought it was the first signs of it. I was, really quite bad with that, and I thought, oh God, this is it. I've got early onset.
Wow.
And that was really worrying. And then obviously that's going to have a knock-on effect because I'm worrying about that. So then I'm going to be feeling rubbish.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's that never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
But it makes such a difference, doesn't it, when you can talk? But even if you're, if you're somebody who doesn't want to talk, if you can look on the communities, or listen to, or watch. See or watch stuff. I mean, I thought, that there was nothing out there really on telly if you didn't know what was happening. So obviously, there are amazing programmes by some amazing women, like Davina's and those sorts of things that are kind of really showing you about the programmes. But I didn't tune into any of those initially because I was like, well, that's not what's happening to me, because it had menopause in the title and stuff like that. So I was like, well, that's not happening to me. It was only when I realised that it was perimenopause that I then started to tune into those things.
Yeah.
But we don't get an instruction manual, do we?
No.
That would
If
be
you
nice
guys
with our
could
make
write
and
one,
model.
please. I will subscribe. I'll be your first. But I think this is why your podcast is so incredible, because it's bringing that sense of community. It's bringing, like, anyone can listen. If they don't want to talk, they can still listen.
Yeah.
So the work that you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's interesting about the cyclical thing as well, because, like, giving my partner a lot of shout outs here. But he's like, he will, when I'm having a really, like, you get it, like, tough mental time where I'm ruminating, anxiety's there, I just can't get out of it. He never does, like, tough love, it's always compassionate love. But one of the things he will say is, you're acting like it's just you that's going through this in the entire world, and it's not. There will be other people that are experiencing the same you. And that seems to snap me out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, you're so in your head. You're like, God, I'm just so alone. Like, no one else has to suffer like I'm suffering. And he has to reassure me that other people are going through the same. And almost there's a relief there of like, okay, yes, it's not, this is very normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has to kind of snap me out of it. And having him on the outside of my brain, again, is so cyclical. So when I'm having those rough days or those rough weeks, and I'm like, God, you know, I'm rubbish, I can't do this is horrible, like, what is the point, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, yeah, get through this week, and then we'll get to the good week. And then on the good weeks, he's like, oh, in 3 weeks, you're going to say what you said last week. And I was like, no, I'm feeling good, I'm great. Like, I am so good. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, I see it. Like, and then when I'm in the bad weeks, he's like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm the worst person on this earth. Like, oh, I can't handle this. Blah, blah, blah. He was like, yeah, you said this 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And he was like, I could record it. Like, so to have that back at you, challenging your bad self is so good. At the same time, I'm like, get away. But also, it's like, it's so good. And I'm so grateful for that, because I understand that other people don't always have that and those support systems. But yeah.
Just that reminder that, you know, next week everything will be all right and you'll feel okay.
I'm living my best life, and he's like anticipating next week. He's like, okay, it's coming.
But it's funny, isn't it? Or it's not funny, because in that time, I guess, when you're feeling really crappy, you kind of forget that in a few days' time you're going to feel wonderful again.
Oh my God, you think it's not coming? You go to the toilet, you come on your feet like, woo! I feel great. Also, cramps, like, oh my tummy, but I'm like,
woo! The pain side is kind of nothing in comparison, is it, to the old?
Oh my God,
what the
like
mental stuff.
It's bizarre.
I don't care about you cramps. I feel great. We're going out on the sofa.
And again, I feel like at school, PMS was just cramps. All of that stuff. They didn't really mention the emotional side to me. I don't remember that. It was just this bodily function. And it's weird. It was weird because I also remember learning about menopause, or hearing the word menopause at school, but not in an educational sense. So we had a dinner lady who was like in the room with us when we were like having lunch and stuff, and she was a bit gossipy. And she just, I think we were older, maybe like 15, 16, but she just was talking to one of the girls there and said that her daughter was early 20s and had gone into like early menopause. And it was like the worst thing that possibly could have happened. I didn't know what she was talking about. I didn't really know what menopause was. But the way that she was like, oh God, this is awful, like, she won't be able to have kids now. And obviously she was just gossiping and being extravagant with whatever story she had. But I was just like, that stayed with me. That stayed in my brain.
Your psyche is recognising that as a really terrible thing.
That menopause is awful. And I'm like, oh God, like, why... Out of all the stuff I want my brain to retain, that is not one of them. I'd like it to retain phone numbers and useful stuff, but no, it retains weird memories of association like that. And it's like, gosh, how is that the first time I heard that word?
I mean, and obviously she was very young at that, and so that brought about its own set of, you know, things that she had to go through. But also looking at menopause in general, when it's not, our society is very different with menopause, isn't it? To societies from around the world where they look to women who have gone through menopause as wise women. And the whole, I mean, this is where we kind of go, oh my God, you know what? Periods, you know, we'll be happy when you're gone, and we're ready to embrace this kind of next life, because it's like another life. But it has, I think, for me, taken going through that whole shit show to come out on the other side and kind of climb my way gently up this ladder to actually realising that now I've got a whole new life, because I feel like I've shed off the bit of me that I don't need to take forward, and I'm ready to embrace the next part of me. And I'm less likely to give a shit. We give a lot less fucks these days, don't we?
Do you really? That is what I'm looking forward to
and
the
that
most.
is good. That is good. You kind of got to a place where I used to think, oh, what about if they think I said that wrong, or what if they took that wrong, or what if they don't like me, and what about this? Now I'm like, well, that's their loss.
I haven't got time.
I've not, and actually, that's the other thing. I haven't got time. I really haven't got time.
It's like we're filling it full of all the stuff that we really want to do.
Yeah,
really. So you haven't really got time to be spending it on
worrying about what other people think.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
and
joyous.
It's great. This is the exciting fun bit.
Well, but don't get me wrong, Kelly. Sometimes I fluctuate between the two. You caught me this time last week. I was an emotional wreck and living on anxiety. But this week I've kind of mellowed out a bit. So it is a constant balance.
It is. It is a balance.
But it feels like the days feeling good are a lot more now than they ever were before, and it does feel like a bit of an emergence.
Yes,
it feels like you're coming out from.
It does. We're just saying yes to loads of things, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're having conversations about things and then going, oh, let's just do the thing. Let's just do it. And
it's a great idea. Let's do it.
Oh, I love that.
And just going back to like the things that we liked when we were younger, that you kind of put aside because you get busy with life, and then embracing other things that you've done a couple of times, or and then you're like, oh, let's try and run with something like that. I don't know, just embracing it and seeing where things go.
No.
I
I got a big smile on my face now, listeners. Just
we all have. But it's ours, isn't it? Life's ours for the taking. We've got to, I don't know, do the things that bring us joy, make us happy. And on those days where we're feeling shitty, remember that, in a few days' time or even a week's time, we will, come out and feel, because it comes round.
Yeah. So one of the things that's kind of helped is I've got this smart ring.
Okay.
So it's like a smartwatch, but I'm not really a watch person.
Yeah.
And so it comes with like the app and everything. So it does all like your health stuff.
Really?
Oh, tell us more.
Yeah. So it does all your kind of traditional health stuff. But the one thing that I wanted to check was my stress levels, because with anxiety and stuff, you're like, it feels 100% every day. Let me just see if that's right. And then what I found was, so it does stress, but also does resilience. So it tells you like if your resilience is good or bad. And I've had it since February, and my resilience has pretty much been brilliant the whole time. So
how does it measure that?
So I don't know. It's something to do with your heart rate and the bounce back of like if you are stressed, how quickly you can get it back down to level.
Wow.
And I was like, if you had asked me, I'd be like, my resilience is shot. Like I'm just done. Like I'm done in. But then when the facts are in front of you, you can't really argue with it. So it's trying to retrain my brain into being like, well, my body thinks I'm fine. It's just my brain that's kind of having a laugh at it.
Yeah, ooh, that's incredible.
And then the stress was really interesting as well, because if I have a stressful moment, I was like, oh, it's going to be off the chain. Let's have a look. And it's like, oh, you are relaxed. And I'm like, I'm really not. But then I realised that for some reason, whether this is normal or whatever, my body will then have a stress reaction after the fact. So it will stay in stress. So it says it's relaxed in that note. So if I say at 12 o'clock I've got a meeting and it's really stressful, I'm like, I'll look back and it'll be like, oh, relaxed.
Yeah.
But then for the next hour, it's like residual stress that stays with me, and then it pops back down again. So I'm like, ooh, that was juicy.
Yeah.
Because even though I think I'm stressed in the moment, I'm probably holding fire. Yeah. Then when I get out of that stressful situation, whoop, it's there, like it stays and it's hitting and it's deep. So I'm like, oh.
So your body's almost like helping you through those stressful moments, like running a meeting or chairy stuff or whatever, because it kind of knows afterwards you're going to just let it go.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe it's those times you need to go for a run or something. You know what I mean? It's things like that fight, flight or freeze response, isn't it?
Exactly.
And your body is helping you get ready to get through the thing, run away from the tiger if you needed to.
Yeah.
But actually it hits afterwards.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
It's really
bizarre.
Yeah.
I think we just don't know anything about our bodies.
We
do
so
nothing,
little.
do we?
In my 20s, I was like, I know everything.
Me too. And I did. But now I realise I did not.
No, I did not. I did what?
Well, you did, you just can't remember.
Well, there is that.
20s? What did I... Where was I? Who? What? Yeah.
But yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it would be so great to have these tools, you know, as a young person. I don't know whether we'd have read into it or whether we'd been too busy with being busy as 20-year-olds, teenagers. But actually, there's so much that we don't know that if we did know, it would help. Yeah. It would really help.
Yeah,
you know,
just the women's handbook would be lovely, wouldn't it?
I mean, I remember we had Lisa, didn't we, early doors, and it stayed with me what she said on one of the podcasts, and it was about that every month we're tricked, and it's like those days where you're feeling crappy, you think, oh my God, where am I? What is this? And then like when you come on, you go, oh yeah. But then the next month you're like, oh my God, why do I feel so awful? Yeah. And then you come on and she's like, it's like you're tricked every single month. But why the fuck do we not learn that every month we're going to get tricked?
Yeah, we think we're the most intelligent and then we're like, oh no, oh it got me again.
Yeah. But why is that?
So mad,
why is that? It's bonkers.
I know. But one of I know we just joked about it, but the forgetting thing, I think, is probably quite scary for me as well. Yeah, like it's become a bit more prevalent in the past 5 years, I would say. Yeah, and if it's like names, it's placing people, and you know, like people are usually pretty nice when you go. They're like, "Hi, Cal, how are you?" I'm like, no idea.
Hi, it's great,
darling.
Yeah,
love.
Yeah, and like the older I get, maybe it is turning into this not caring anymore. I'm kind of like, where have we met? Like, just remind me. Like, my brain's not great. But yeah, that one caught me by surprise. I was like, I am forgetting things now, and Ollie will have memories of stuff that we've done together. I'm like, oh, just refresh it because it's not naturally coming.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really thought about that one until you kind of said about the stuff. So.
But I think we've talked about this and the fact that we have to retain so much information. I just think we have to filter some of it out.
We do.
Yeah,
because that thing I said we were talking about yesterday, that was to do with something I can't remember.
Talking about forgetting.
It was the post, the Instagram post which said we had to make. Is it the decision thing?
Yes.
Our ancestors had to only make something like
2,500
decisions a day, and we now need to make 35,000.
35,000. So you can see why that totally plays into what you're saying.
Fact check that.
We do need to fact check that. I have got it. I've got a screenshot that I'll then.
But
check.
that makes sense anyway, doesn't it? We only had to decide on which berries to eat ancestrally, but now we're having to decide, on everything from the minute we wake up.
Yeah, and especially with technology, I guess, you kind of, it's so much information if you are doing your doom scrolling, and the way some of these things flicker through your brain. I mean, it must all be affecting, it's bonkers.
It's mad, isn't it? Because not only is there PMDD that I'm kind of managing and perimenopause that I'm managing as well, we also were not. I'm pretty sure the pandemic had a massive effect on me as well.
Absolutely.
And even around that, there was dialogue on the vaccine, like altering periods and stuff like that. So we were talking about that then. So I'm like, okay, which one is it? Like, which one is it today that I'm blaming for my behaviour? Like, let's pick one. Yeah. And it's like, because from the pandemic, you kind of rejig your priorities. You figure out what the hell just happened, what you enjoyed and what you didn't enjoy, like all that kind of stuff. So and it's all happened around the same time. So me, like Ollie always says, I'm quite like I like a yes or a no, but I just can't have that with these conditions because it's like I'm never going to get a this is why this is happening. This you can pinpoint it to that. You just have to be comfortable with this uncomfortableness. Yes, and just be like.
Ride the wave.
Definitely. Well, we've said about the pandemic before, haven't we? Because that's when I went into perimenopause. So I'm like, was it the pandemic? Did that trigger it? Yeah. And like you spoke about how that affected you, and actually none of us have had any sort of love and support from that post-it. Yeah. We've all just kind of gone, okay, back to work, bye-bye, carry on. So, nobody's kind of sat and really gone, okay, so what actually has that done to us as women, men, well, whoever.
And I think that's the thing as well, because you're saying all these things that we, that we're going through as women as well. But I just think as a society and everything, how everything's moved on, and men as well are also having their own difficulties. And I think just as a general society, we're all just struggling, regardless. So we've all got our own individual stuff, and then we've got the world stuff that's going on, and like, I mean, we're all really lucky, it sounds, that we've got wonderful partners that are, and because they've not, could you imagine if we were, if our partners were going through all this as well, we'd have to try and match that. Crikey. So bless him, he's trying to work out what's going on with me whilst I'm trying to work out what's going on with me. But then all the stuff that's going on in the world as well, it's just all
it is tricky. But
it's a wonder that we...
It is, but it's why these things are important, isn't it? To have these conversations and to realise that none of us are alone. Like what your partner said to you, none of us are alone in that moment, because there's lots of other people going through similar things, and it's just realising that, isn't it? But I think this sense of community and having support, whether that support isn't a person because you've not, that isn't your situation, but you've got like podcasts to listen to, or you've got social media groups that you can be part of, or being with people in the flesh. I don't know. There's just the talking is always about what shifts when you can talk.
It?
Yeah.
Oh God. And you forget it in the dark moments.
You do, don't you?
Because you don't want to talk.
No.
But actually, that's what's going to get you out.
Definitely.
Yeah, we become very insular, don't we? Whereas actually, just having that time with someone to just like blurt it all out makes a massive difference.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah, totally.
Right, well, thank you ever so much. It's been really, really great to talk to you, Kelly. I really, really enjoyed the conversations and learned so much again. Never fails to amaze me how much, although like you mentioned earlier, we're all so different, so we all bring so many different things to the table because our experiences are so different, and it's amazing. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been lovely to see you. Thank you for
Thanks,
coming.
guys.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Wild, Wise and Curious. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, feel free to email us at info@wildwiseandcurious.com or reach out on our socials at wild_wise_and_curious. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Stay curious and we'll see you next time.